Could you imagine being king for less time than a sitcom episode? It seems impossible, yet Louis Antoine briefly held the crown of France for just 20 minutes. Join us to explore the truly extraordinary events that led to this fleeting and unbelievable reign. Intrigued by history that quick? Subscribe for more unbelievable stories. By 1830, France was a powder keg. The Bourbon Restoration, meant to bring stability after Napoleon, instead brought simmering resentment. King Charles X, far from a unifying figure, actively chipped away at hard-won liberties. His increasingly autocratic moves ignited public fury. The flashpoint arrived in July. Charles's restrictive ordinances aimed at silencing dissent backfired spectacularly. Paris erupted. The 3 glorious days saw barricades rise and street battles rage between citizens and royal forces. Revolutionaries, a mix of liberals and working-class Parisians, demanded Charles's removal. They wanted a real shift, not just a change in figurehead. The king's unpopularity and the intensity of the revolt left him cornered. France was demanding change, loudly and on the streets. This explosive atmosphere, this fight for freedom, set the stage for the rapid-fire events that would soon thrust Louis Antoine into a position he never expected. The very foundations of French power were shaking, and a 20-minute reign was just around the corner. Cornered by revolution, Charles X abdicated. He hoped to save the Bourbon dynasty, aiming to crown his grandson, the Duke of Bordeaux. However, to strengthen his grandson's claim, Charles insisted Louis Antoine, the Dauphin, must also abdicate. Louis Antoine was the next heir. As Dauphin, he was expected to become king after his father. He faced huge pressure to agree. Suddenly, Louis Antoine was in a political and family storm. His father's choice put him in a difficult position. Legally, with Charles abdicating, Louis Antoine became king immediately. But it was a kingship from crisis, not natural succession. The demand for his abdication came right after, making it an unheard-of situation. King for a tiny moment. This quick chain, father's abdication, son king, then abdication, made Louis Antoine's reign short. Royal choices in a crisis pushed a reluctant man to a throne for mere minutes, a true domino effect. Louis Antoine was no warrior king or ambitious statesman. History paints him as rather indecisive, even melancholic, a man who lacked the burning desire to rule. His life hadn't exactly prepared him for power. Years spent in exile likely fostered a detachment from the intricate games of court and political life. Accounts suggest Louis Antoine was keenly aware of the perilous nature of the French throne. The revolution raging around him was just the latest evidence. It's plausible his reluctance to embrace kingship wasn't mere political maneuvering. It might have stemmed from a deep personal aversion. Perhaps he saw the crown not as a prize, but as a poisoned chalice, especially in such turbulent times. Imagine a man of quiet temperament, suddenly thrust into the most public and demanding role imaginable, a role he actively avoided. This wasn't a power grab. It was more like a reluctant walk onto a stage he never wanted to be on. Louis Antoine's character, marked by hesitation and a lack of ambition, makes his fleeting kingship even more remarkable and ironic. Picture this: Rambouillet Palace, a retreat, not a celebration. Charles X is about to abdicate, revolution's noise reaching even palace walls. Charles signed first. That pen stroke was his abdication. Instantly, Louis Antoine became King of France by a succession law. Imagine Louis Antoine then, perhaps nearby, given another paper, his own abdication document, ready for signature. No coronation, no joy, just a swift, almost businesslike act amidst crisis and political collapse. He signed too, his reign ended as fast as it began, passing the claim to his nephew, the Duke of Bordeaux. The time between these signatures, from becoming king to not being, was roughly 20 minutes, a very short coffee break. For those minutes, Louis Antoine was technically King Louis XIX, king in name for a blink of an eye duration. This brief moment between two signatures on abdication papers is the core astonishing fact of his almost non-existent reign. 20 minutes as king might seem like a historical joke, a mere footnote, but Louis Antoine's fleeting reign is surprisingly meaningful. It shows just how fast power changed hands during revolutions. Political shifts weren't slow transitions, but lightning-quick turnovers. His reign highlights the intense pressure on the Bourbon monarchy. They had to give up power swiftly, decisively, or risk total collapse. Those 20 minutes scream rejection of the old way. France was done with the Bourbons. They wanted a new political era, immediately. This tiny reign also throws Louis Antoine's personal story into sharp relief. His reluctance wasn't just personal quirk, it was history bearing down. He represents the individual caught in immense historical forces, swept up in events far bigger than personal desires. So, 20 minutes isn't nothing. It's a powerful symbol of rapid change, intense pressure, and personal stories within history's sweep. Louis Antoine's reign, short as it was, gives us a potent glimpse into a France in revolutionary upheaval. So, amidst revolution and abdication, a reluctant Louis Antoine unexpectedly became King of France. It's a truly bizarre historical quirk, a king for barely 20 minutes, a reign almost too short to count. Yet, this unique story vividly illustrates a crucial moment in French history, a time of rapid and dramatic change. It reminds us that even the briefest moments can carry significant weight, reflecting larger historical forces. Louis Antoine's 20 minutes on the throne is a potent reminder that history is full of astonishing and sometimes fleeting surprises. Thanks for joining this quick royal ride. If you enjoyed this historical sprint, like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what other fleeting moments of history fascinate you. Have a great day.